I mean, the crowds have now left the Beyra area where we are outside the municipality office, where we saw those crowds gathering earlier. Family members had been waiting for hours throughout the day, anxiously waiting to see if their loved ones were on the list of names to be released today. That took a lot longer than we saw actually on Friday night, but of course we have now seen those 39 Palestinian detainees and prisoners released. Many of them, at least 33 of them, were minors, children under the age of 18, and we saw them being carried on people's shoulders up the street to the municipality office, where they were surrounded by thousands of people who had gathered, more than 1,000 rather, who had gathered to welcome them, to celebrate their release from detention. Important to note that the majority of those children who had been released were held under administrative detention, meaning no charges were laid against them, no ongoing legal process. And we've been speaking to many of the families here. Many had been waiting outside the municipality office even before finding out whether or not their children, their loved ones, would be on the list. They were just waiting, hoping that today would bring positive news for them. Some of them were indeed lucky enough to see their children released today. Many of the people that we spoke to, the children who had been detained and now released, spoke about their experience in detention, how difficult it has been for them over the last few months, with no information as to the legal process that they were going through. We spoke to one young man, Wissam Tamimi, a 17-year-old boy. He was released tonight. He spoke about the last couple of months that he has spent in prison, in detention. He described this as one of the most difficult experiences of his life, but said he was just happy to be home, to be with his family, and to finally get to have his mum's home cooking again. Now, of course, this is part of a wider release of Palestinian detainees and prisoners as part of that truce agreement between Israel and Hamas, which will see approximately 150 Palestinian detainees and prisoners released over the 4-day truce period, if indeed the terms of the truce are upheld, in exchange for at least 50 Israeli hostages who are set to be released from Hamas captivity in Gaza. As we saw today, another group of Israeli hostages were released today by Hamas. But of course, there isn't a lot of clarity on who else will be released on the Palestinian side, nor on the Israeli side. We will wait day by day for those details. But of course, there are questions around the charges that many of these Palestinians have faced. Earlier in the week, we did see an initial list released by Israeli authorities with about 300 names of people who would be eligible for potential release. Many of them, again, were minors under the age of 18. And of course, among the charges that many of them face, the majority were minor offences, including throwing stones at Israeli soldiers and also risking regional security. They were the most common amongst those charges. But of course, for the people here in the occupied West Bank, this is a huge and welcome moment of relief for many of them.